Hi friends, welcome you all back to your super learning of economic survey, and we are entering now the chapter 6 of volume 1 of economic survey, my dear friends. This chapter is about process reforms, decision making under uncertainty. All right. So this chapter starts like this, my dear friends. It starts with discussion of the problem of regulatory effectiveness in India. The problem of regulatory effectiveness in India. It first questions whether are we under regulated? Do we have this? Do we have what do you call under regulated state of affairs in India, or is the compliance procedures what do you call not well envisaged? So, in very simple terms, what I'm trying to tell you is this, my dear friends. The chapter starts by questioning whether there are less regulations, whether uh, the number of regulations that are there, are they adequate? Compliance procedures, are they adequate? It as it questions this, it finds out that hey, India is home to regulations. I mean, it has almost all regulations that can be in place. Okay, it is well thought out, and which is clearly uh, validated by, you take any important work that can figure it out, like for example the regulatory effectiveness index of World Bank, or the world rule of law index by the World Justice Report, okay, which World Bank consults. Or even if you take the ease of doing business, you can actually see ease of doing business report of the World Bank, where it gives a rank to different countries. What is clearly understood is India has almost all regulations in place. India has all the procedures in place. Okay, all these compliance procedures. But the fact is, it has too much of it. And the too much is what has made it ineffective, is what is clearly understood, my dear friends. Do you get the essence of it, my dear friends? So the essence of it is, it's not about shortage of regulations. It's not about inadequacy of compliance procedures. It is the multiplicity of them. It is the too much of them, the plethora of them, which is the problem in India in terms of regulatory effectiveness. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? I'll give you one simple example that Quality Council of India gives. In India, if you have to close down a company, even when the people, the promoters of the company have settled the dispute between them, there is absolutely no conflict at all between them, and they intend to close down the company. Guess how much time it should take for you to close down the company? Guess, average, on an average. Yeah. See, closing down the company is not like you go shut down the shutter and come. That is not closing down the company. Closing down the company is legal closing down the company, wherein all the regulations that are there in place needs to be fulfilled, and so many procedures are there, my dear friends. Okay. Now, how much time does it take? Guess, my dear friends, wherever you're sitting, guess. Yeah, I know what you guessed. Some 100 days? 200 days? Superb. Guess some more, a little more. 500 days? 1000? It's almost like 1600 days, my dear friends. 1600. I'm trying to calculate in my mind. 365 into what is equal to 1600? I mean, 365. I think 4 years, my dear friends. Close to 4 years. Yeah, 4, 5. Should it take 4.5 years for you to close down a company, even after all of you who are responsible to start a company have decided that, hey, let it go? Think of how much more regulated, how much excess our regulations are in, which is leading to all these delays. And this state of affairs, my dear friend, just imagine how bad it can be to the economy. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? This is what survey is talking about. Okay. Now survey goes on to tell us why, why there is inevitability of incomplete regulations. Okay. Yeah, and it talks about what all forms does it take, regulatory default in India, what are the solutions for it, and what is the direction of the administrative process reforms that we are going about. All these things survey very well sums up, my dear friends. First, let us look into inevitability of incomplete regulations. Now, I know what you are thinking. Sir, just now you said there is already too much of regulations. And why are we now talking about inevitability of incomplete regulations? See, you know why there is multiplicity of regulations? Because every time we figure out, hey, that this has to be regulated, we are adding one regulation to it. Now, like this, we have expanded and expanded and expanded, and we still feel it's incomplete, and we are continuously adding to it. The question that survey puts up is, should this be the way? I mean, is this the way of, enhancing the regulatory standards? I mean, should enhancing regulatory standards, does it mean increasing the regulations whenever you see that there is even little scope for it, add one? No. That's why it says, see, survey first is trying to tell us that incomplete regulations are inevitable. Inevitable. Regulations are going to be incomplete, how much ever you add to it. So just to go on adding and adding and adding to it is not the right thing to do. But why in first place regulations will be incomplete? See, the one of the fantastic seminal work of this great scholarly authority of decision making, Herbert Simon, he talks about bounded rationality model, which means human beings, when they make decisions, organizational decisions or personal decisions, their rationality is not going to be full. It's going to be bounded. There is a boundary to it, beyond which they can't be rational. It's because, there are so many forces that acts upon the, final decision. So also, there is this problem of, according to Simon, unknown unknowns. No, don't confuse this with the problem of risk. We are not talking about risk here. Risk is something that we are able to see. Still we are going ahead. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? This is the problem of unknown unknowns. Did you get that? Okay. So Simon talks about unknown unknowns. Now when there are unknown unknowns, my dear friends, don't you feel whatever regulations you have right now today will still be incomplete? Yes or no? Yeah. Another Nobel Prize winning work, Incomplete Contracts, Oliver Hart, he also talks about the same thing, my dear friends. He says, see, all the future obligations, all the future obligations or all the future problems that can come about, how can we think about it in 360 degree and put it now? It's impossible, because there are problems that will shoot up only when the process is, when the process starts working. Yes or no, my dear friend? So whatever contract two parties sign, how much ever rules and regulations they would have brought in, it's going to be incomplete only because it's between two human beings who are the most unpredictable species on the planet, by the way. Are you connecting to what I'm... This is not said by Oliver Hart, this is by me, my dear friends, but the essence is that. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about? So any contract, how much ever regulations you bring, it's incomplete only. And there, so, what survey is trying to tell you is, hey, stupid, just don't go on increasing the regulations. Acknowledge the fact that, yes, regulations are going to be incomplete. It's going to be, and this incomplete regulations is inevitable. And even if you look at how can a third party verify the decision, my dear friends? Always, you see, what you are doing in a regulation, there is a third party who is verifying the decision made by someone and seeing whether it is complying. But don't you feel, my dear friends, there may be a lot of subjectivity there? Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. So basically, survey is trying to tell here, regulations are going to be incomplete. Acknowledge it. And it is for these reasons: unknown unknowns, incomplete contracts, inability of the third party to always verify decisions objectively. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. All right. Now it looks at, survey goes deeper, my dear friends. It looks at what do you call? What's the? I mean, how all does the regulatory default manifest? Okay. When they look at the problem of regulatory default, especially taking into consideration the case of India, they find out these things, my dear friends. They figure out these things. Number one, in India, see, even before that, see, let me try to explain to you what I'm trying to tell here. Imagine, guys, if you just go on adding regulations, okay, without uh, looking into the other important outcomes that is supposed to be achieved, then you may be actually missing the bird for the bush. What I'm trying to tell, I'll just give you a simple example that survey gives you. See, between a teacher and a student, a teacher is responsible to enhance learning outcomes of student on multiple fronts. But if the teacher's incentives is just based on students' performance in the test, then the teacher inevitably will start concentrating only on improving the grades of the students in the test and forego the other important improvements that is essential for overall development of the child or overall development of the student. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. Superb. Now let me get into how all in India regulatory default is happening, my dear friends. Okay. Number one, too much regulations without questioning the effectiveness of them. I'll give you the best example. I'll just give you examples that survey has given, my dear friends, not my own. Okay. It gives a fantastic example. Look at the banking sector of India. Banks in India are so excessively regulated. So many regulations have been brought in banking. What is happening, my dear friends? Uh, many corporates who intended to come up with banks now instead try to participate in the shadow banking, the non-banking financial institutions and all that, my dear friends, because there are too many regulations here. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? See, look at here. Bank is so formal, so transparent. Here there is some kind of translucence, but the focus is being shifted from here to here because this is over regulated. I mean, regulations beyond what is accept. I mean, there is risk, but then it doesn't mean, are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? That's number one. Number two, second one. So first one is too many regulations without questioning the effectiveness. Look at that in the first example, effectiveness is gone. You would have got more transparent, more formal banking is being swapped by shadow NBFCs. Fair enough, my dear friends. Having said this, second one, uh, see, what is alternative to regulation? Discretion, supervision. Perfect, my dear friends. See, regulation is what? Going with the checklist and putting a tick mark. As or as an improvement to it, if you are advocating something, it will be exercising discretion. Yeah. Or, doing timely supervision. Perfect. But then, unfortunately, in India, my dear friends, discretion is not considered even where it has to be considered. Like, see, I'll tell you guys, we are so outdated in our thinking. Till now, 2021, we still go for L1, L1 system in public procurement, lowest bidder. Now, just think, see, okay, you got your regulations right. Yeah, the lowest bidder got the deal, and I mean, he got the contract and all that, my dear friends. Fair enough. Okay, that's fine. But then, shouldn't you consider other factors like quality, other factors like the human capital and all that, my dear friends? Should you go with just the price in determining who actually should get the contract? Now, don't you feel, my dear friends, some element of discretion has to come in here? More factors will have to come in here rather than just going by some outdated regulations. Are you understanding, my dear friends? Almost all, international finance agencies like JICA, World Bank, everyone have been advocating alternative ways of uh, making decisions when it comes to public procurement, my dear friends. Niti Aayog itself came up with a paper on alternative strategies for public procurement. But unfortunately in India, since we say it's safe, since we see it safe, comfortable, we go with it. And you know very well, my dear friends, that is also not transparent. Yeah, it's not like, the bidding is happening at a time when everyone has come together and doing it transparently. Yeah, you know very well what can happen off the screen. Yes or no, my dear friends? Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So don't you feel it's time that discretion comes in? Why this fellow, even without a lowest price, should get the contract? Are you connecting to? I just gave that example, my dear friends, to make you understand that point. And this example is given by the survey itself. Got that? I'm just going with the examples that survey has given, my dear friends, so that it's easy for you and also good for you to quote in means or interview or wherever, my dear friends. Fair enough? Okay. And third one. See, discretion, whenever it is made, it is questioned for its benefit in the hindsight, which is again wrong, my dear friends. What I am trying to tell you, I'll explain to you with an example. Understand? Now, there is a public sector company. You want to divest some stocks. You want to go and sell some stock in the primary market. Okay. And it is over. The primary market is over, and after a while, the prices of the stocks shoots up considerably. So now, if you question, hey, the assets were undervalued, they were sold cheap. See, you applied your discretion, and because of which government lost lot of resources. Hell with you. You know why, guys? Look at here. Any market value, see, the real market price of a stock gets decided in secondary market. Yes or no? It is not only true with public sector divestment, but also if private sector is also selling some of its stocks, it is true. Yes or no, my dear friends? In primary market, when you actually don't know to how much you will have to sell, you just arrive at some number, you go and sell, because what is important right now is to get some resources. While doing away with something that is not earning a lot of returns for you, get some immediate resources. Maybe you have other objectives to get that resources. Yeah, meeting some financial needs of a welfare program or some infrastructure, whatsoever it may be. But what is happening, only because the prices went up over a period of time, you cannot question the administrator that, see, your discretion was not right. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. You sold the assets cheap, like I told you. Yeah. No. Again, this is a problem in India, my dear friends. Got that what I'm trying to tell you. Perfect. So, when I talk about the problems of regulatory default in India, even when some administrators have gone with discretion, they have taken a back step later because most of their decisions get questioned like this for the benefit in hindsight. Got that? No? And then the fourth problem of regulatory default in India is government follow default precedent. Default. See, take the again example that economic survey gives you. Income tax, especially direct tax. Lot of problems will be there, legal problems, and you know very well there is this tribunal, income tax tribunal, and all that which deals with it. And whenever it is not settled there, it goes to High Court and the Supreme Court. You know what, my dear friends? Almost 80% of the cases goes to High Court and Supreme Court. By default, there is this precedent. At least, here it's not getting settled. It has to get settled at the next level. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? And imagine the delays that can happen when it has to happen like this. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? No, so having discussed with you the problem of regulatory default in India, so what is an alternative? The alternative is active supervision. Instead of one-time regulation or two-time regulation, ante ex post, go for active supervision and discretion wherever needed. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about? But then, when you go for discretion, you will have to consider these three important things. One, batting for ex ante accountability. Ex ante accountability. See, when I say ex ante accountability, I don't want you to go back and become that L1 bidder in the public procurement, my dear friends. What I'm talking about is, that's what was happening, no, in the public procurement L1. Yeah, lowest bidder see, whenever there is a process unfolding, hold people to account. Okay, how is it going to work? Get a theme of it, my dear friends. Instead of going with this rule of thumb that the management, whatever decisions it makes, it is in the best interest of stakeholders, unless until there is something untowardly that is happening. Instead of going with such rule of thumb, my dear friends, yeah, put in right mechanisms so that people are held accountable even before process unfolds. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. Ex ante accountability. 2, improve transparency in the mechanism. Like the best example survey gives you, yeah, government e-marketplace. See, after that government e-marketplace has come, people are easily able to, people are easily able to discover prices. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? So if you increase the transparency, it will solve so many of your problems, because it's all real time. It's all, in time, spick and span. 3, you have to make better your ex post resolution mechanisms. Ex post resolution mechanisms. Look at here, guys. What survey is trying to tell you? Instead of ex ante expanding the regulations left, right, center. Hey, see, this problem I had not found out. So, come up with another regulation. This problem I had not discovered earlier. Come up with another regulation. Instead of that, my dear friends, what I'm talking about is have better resolution mechanisms, ex post. Okay? Yeah, when there is a conflict, when there is a dispute, you need better ways of resolving it, especially in India, my dear friends. The major problem is delay. You need to bring down that judicial delay, my dear friends. The conflict resolution delays. Got that? Now I'm trying to tell you. Perfect. Having said this all, my dear friends, finally, survey talks about the direction of administrative reforms and also points out some of the reforms in the recent times which is already going in this direction. The best examples that the survey takes is, number 1, the labor laws, concurrent list, state 100 laws, center 40. Now, thank God, we have reduced it to manageable number of labor code. Manageable number. From 140 like that, we have reduced it to how much? Think about it. 3. Just 3 codes, my dear friends. I mean, this is what is the need of our. Instead of bringing in regulation after regulation after regulation, you need to have something like this. Put it under 3 headings. 1, industrial relations. 2, occupational safety, health, working conditions. 3, social safety. Finished. Are you understanding, my dear friends? Simplify it like this. 2, wherever your regulations are outdated, time to put it in the dustbin. For example, my dear friends, the recent reforms related to other service providers, especially the BPO industry. Earlier, BPO has to work competitively. If it has to work competitively, it will have to search for cost-effective ways of doing things. And it needs these cheap global cloud-based systems, my dear friends. But India had problem. Its regulations limited these BPOs by imposing on them usage of the local clouds. Number 1. Number 2, there were also restrictions on work from home, work from anywhere and all that. Now all that has been eased and it has been made more 21st century-ish. Got that? I'm trying to tell you. 3, it's not enough if you reform the process. You need to bring in the necessary institutional structure as well. In fact, what is the need of our is not to have a weak and all-pervading state. We need a strong and limited state. Minimum government, maximum governance. Got that? I'm trying to tell you. That is what is the need of our, and that's what the government is exactly doing now. See, all these boards, my dear friends, all the 70s, 60s era relevant, the jute advisory board, cotton advisory board, handloom. You need to reduce such kind of, overstate. Let the state be minimal, but let its impact be maximum. Got that? What I'm trying to tell you. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? And most importantly, it's important to come up with enabling legislations. The reforms. Enabling legislation like enhancing the transparency of rules. See, when I say this, don't you feel, my dear friends, there is so much of information asymmetry to citizens? A citizen actually does not know what rules, what regulations apply. Imagine he's constructing a house. Okay, if he goes to some website, government website, to see what are all the regulations that he will have to comply with, he doesn't get many. But once he constructs the house, some inspector will come and ask him, hey, you have not taken this permission, you have not taken that license and all that. Why can't we make it transparent, please? Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. Now, having said this all, this completes chapter 6 for you, my dear friends. Hope I've made it as comprehensively as possible. Meet you all in the next chapter, my dear friends. Thank you so much.